Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to welcome everyone to the Policy Learning Platform on the Road event, Tackling Green Policy Challenges, the Value of Interregional Cooperation for Portuguese Regions. This joint webinar is co-organized by the Interreg Europe Policy Learning Platform, together with the Alentejo region, the Portugal Europe Collaboration Platform at Stipe, and Irradiare. A special thanks go to Marco Nogueira and Flavia Duarte for all their work in organizing this event. My name is Astrid Severin, and I'm a thematic expert for environment and resource efficiency at the Interreg Europe Policy Learning Platform. First of all, I would like to give a very warm welcome to the representatives of the Portuguese regions that are here with us today. So we have Carmen Cavalera, the Vice President from Alentejo. Hello, Carmen. We have Alexandra Rodriguez, Director of Regional Development Services from CCDR Centro.
Hello.
Celia, hello. We have Celia Ramos, Vice President from the CCDR Norte. Hello to you as well. From Algarve, we should have Elsa Cordero, Vice President, as well as Maria de Lourdes Carvalho, who is Director of Regional Development Services. So I hope you're here. From Lisbon, CCDR, we have Tiago Cruz, who is Head of Innovation, Competitiveness and Cooperation Division. And last but not least, I also say hello to Catarina Souza, which I can also see, which is good, from the Azores Government Regional Directorate for Energy. So we are really honored to have you all here with us today. A big thank you also goes to Susana Lopez from the International Business Unit of the Greater Porto region, who will deliver testimonial from a peer review. Hello, Susana. And of course, it gives me great pleasure to welcome my very knowledgeable and experienced colleagues, Magda Anagnostou, the coordinator of the Policy Learning Platform at the Interreg Europe Secretariat. Hello, Magda. As well as Elena Ferrario, the thematic manager of the Policy Learning Platform, and Eugénie Souplisson, our communication manager, who is making sure everything runs very smoothly, and I'm very grateful for. I would like to start with some housekeeping rules. This webinar is benefiting from interpretation, so you can listen and speak in Portuguese or in English, and you can choose your channel if you have downloaded the application as we asked you on the down right. I also would like to remind you that we're recording this webinar and the recordings will be available online later together with all the presentations. When you're not speaking, please mute yourself so we don't have any interferences. But you can, of course, leave on your camera so we have a little bit nicer atmosphere in our event. For questions, you can write in the chat. We will post some useful information and links for you, which you can follow. And for people that have booked a help desk for 10 minutes at the end of the event, please don't run away, stay in the room. We have 3 people here that are ready for you to answer all your questions. And last but not least, we will of course have a little survey for your feedback on the event, which we will ask you to fill in. That would be very, very helpful for us. So before giving the floor to Mrs. Caballero for a little opening, we have prepared 2 polls for you so that we get to know you a little bit better as well. So please, Eugénie, launch the first poll. Where we would ask you, what is your background? So are you coming from a regional or local authority, or academia, or business, or an NGO, for example, or another type of organization? Okay, I think that that must have been easy. Oh, wow, very good. We have a lot of regional and local authorities and a good mix of other organizations as well. That's actually excellent. So thank you very much for that. And the second poll is looking at the interest in this webinar. So please tell us why you're here. Are you interested in different subjects such as circular economy and marine litter? And you have multiple choice. You can tick them all if you like. Or would you like to learn more about coastal tourism, natural and cultural heritage? Or you're interested in water, rivers, habitats, biodiversity? Or you're more interested in renewable energy and sustainable mobility? or you're here because you want to understand the future opportunities which are coming from Interreg Europe, or learn more about the policy learning platform. So submit your answers. As I said, you can put several answers. Oh, well, I think everything we are going to present today is going to be useful. So all the subjects are being covered, and you want to understand, of course, what are the future opportunities of Interreg Europe. Excellent. I think we have something for all of you. So with this, I would like to give the word to Mrs. Cavalera from Alentejo and ask you for a little welcome to this webinar, please. And don't forget to unmute yourself.
Olá, viva. Julgo que me estão a ouvir.
Hello, good afternoon. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. You can hear me? Yes, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. First and foremost, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to share with you the discussion on these matters, and I'm very happy to be here today. The Alentejo region, and I'm speaking here as a representative of Alentejo, and the Alentejo region, the CCDRs, that's the acronym of Portuguese, we are the regional governments, and we have a cross-cutting presence throughout the territory. In the specific case of the Alentejo region, we are faced with many challenges. First, because the region of Alentejo represents about 1/3 of the country, geographically speaking. Therefore, in our region, there's a lot of diversity, namely diversity in policies, because in the different areas of the region, we have many different features and characteristics. So we have to touch upon sea-related policies, because we have a considerable coastal area, the policies that are related with cross-border issues, because we're neighbors to Spain, and we do have a very long border with Spain, and then to the north and south borders we have different features. Notwithstanding the size of the region, we are a region with a very low population density. That's always a big challenge for us, this low density of population. Furthermore, our population follows, in fact, an European trend, and that is a significant aging of the population. And this is something that must always be taken into consideration. But notwithstanding that, we have good development indicators, and we know that the policies that we are implementing are already generating some outcomes. Our intervention is focusing on several of the projects that we have, and focusing also in several areas. We are very focused on the circular economy. And let me also mention, by the way, that our intervention strategies are very important. In these different fields, we have several interventions, namely circular economy. The circular economy is also applied in a very cross-cutting manner, focusing on one hand on farming, and currently we're preparing an application of what we call from farm to fork. And in all the areas, we need to consider sustainability, but also the circular economy, focusing on construction waste, and also municipal waste. This is also a serious concern for us, together with other areas where the CCDR, the Alentejo region, intervenes. And Alentejo is a region with a policy clearly focusing on ornamental rocks. And then climate change. We also pay a lot of attention to that, and also water management, of course. And this is a very hot region. We don't have a lot of rain, so we need to take this into account. We do have a climate strategy, but this is closely linked with the local strategies of each municipality. And we have other two important areas. One of them is mobility, sustainable mobility, and we are also the managers of a platform called Mobility on Demand. And this is in fact the only possible solution to be effective, so as to streamline our commuting in a territory that is large and with an aged population. And only with flexible mobility we can respond to this. And also in a cross-cutting manner, we have digitalization. Digitalization is extremely important to be achieved. And we are leaders of a project, and Marcos Nogueira is together with us managing the project. He is the project coordinator, project manager, I'm sorry, the interpreter corrects herself. And our intention is to make available this digital transition to all the areas I've just mentioned, so that Alentejo becomes a smart community.
Just 1 minute, please.
Okay.
Bring intelligence, smartness, the ability of having territorial intelligence to supply data. And this is extremely important for us in order to be able to collect data, have the necessary information on the territory, so that we can also use that data being reliable and have a cross-cutting policies in our territory, in our lands. So very shortly and briefly, this is what I had to say about Alentejo, and tell you that we are always interested and available in being partners to bring the best practices to our territory, learning from other regions, and being also available to share them. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much also for setting the scene already. We have heard already there is a lot of green challenges that you are facing. I think I have counted at least until 9 for the different challenges. So that's actually a lot of tasks ahead of you, which we will all have to tackle. So thank you very much for this introduction. I'll give the floor to Magda Anagnostou, who is answering some of your questions about the future of Interreg Europe and the potential funding opportunities for the next programming phase from 21 to 27. So please, Magda, the word is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, Astrid, and good afternoon to everybody. A warm welcome also from my side. I'm really glad to see there are more than 60 participants, and I saw that 80%, if I'm not mistaken, of you would like to know more about the funding opportunities within the program, and that is my job today. So I have structured my presentation under 3 sections. First, some state of play, where we are with the program. Then we will move on to look at the Portuguese participation and performance within the program. And as the concluding part is maybe the most interesting for you, looking into the future program. So indeed, Interreg Europe program, as you may know, it's the only program of European territorial cooperation which allows all regions in Europe, including also those from Norway and Switzerland, to cooperate with each other. The objective of the program is to improve the regional development policies. The means for doing that is through exchange of experience and capacity building. So our program is not a research one, is not we are not funding investments, we are not funding building bridges, but we do allow the regions to build mental bridges through exchange of cooperation and experience. We are doing that in 4 thematic areas: research and innovation, SMEs competitiveness, low carbon economy, and the topic of today, environment and resource efficiency. The program supports 2 different types of actions. On the one hand, the traditional projects, and on the other hand, the more innovative feature of the program, the policy learning platform. About the projects, a few characteristics. I'm aware, I suppose we are all aware of them. A limited number of regions are working together. They're having also involved the local stakeholders that are relevant for the policies tackled by the project. The projects are implemented in 2 phases. The first phase is the most important one, is where the exchange of experience and good practices and the learning is happening. And there is a second follow-up phase where we try to monitor the impact of the learning. And indeed, in order to push the projects to put this learning into action, at the end of the first phase, all regions have to submit an action plan. About the policy learning platform, I think the idea is really very simple. The idea is really to exploit the knowledge, the results, the achievements that are coming from the projects, and to make them available, to open this up to any region in Europe, even those ones that they do not have necessarily the time, the resources, the capacities to be part of a project partnership. Where we are today, we are currently, through 4 calls, we are implementing 258 projects. Important to say that within the 2,000 partners that are implementing the projects, 1/4 is managing authorities of structural funds, and we are covering 90% of the 92 regions in Europe. Moving on a little bit on the what we call in the jargon outputs, what exactly the projects are delivering. We have these figures are updated as of 1st of October. We are very carefully checking these figures through the regular semestrial progress reports of the projects. So today we can say that more than 4,000 good practices have been identified by the projects. More than 100 pilot actions have been implemented. More than 1,000 action plans have been submitted. And maybe most importantly, more than 14,000 people have reported that they have increased their professional capacities due to the learning gained through the implementation of Interreg Europe project. You can see also with the percentages that already the program has achieved and even passed the targets set initially for the program. But maybe more interesting is why we are doing that, because after all, it is about improving the life of the citizens, is that the individuals will be better off. In other words, that there is some improvements in the regions that are participating. And indeed, we have more than 700 policy changes that have been reported. This may sound a little bit abstract. Policy changes when a policy intervention has been improved due to the learning of the project. And just to give an example, it can be a new project, can be a new call that has been launched, If you're interested, all these 705 policy changes are very well in detail described on our website. So please go ahead and look on the details of that. And we are also very glad to report that we have influenced more than 1 billion local, regional, or national funds due to the learning of the projects. Very specifically, that means that when €1 is invested in Interreg Europe, €6 are mobilized at the regional or national level funds. For the policy learning platform, I will not go into details because I know that my colleague Elena afterwards will give you much more details. Just to share a little bit that at the beginning, as this is a completely new initiative for the first time implemented in Interreg, we had a challenging beginning, but now we are in full speed. There are enormous opportunities for learning through the policy learning platform. And if I may just mention one, the one that is most appreciated by our beneficiaries is the peer reviews, which actually they can offer detailed solutions. They can offer very hands-on policy recommendations for the regions that are facing a specific policy challenge. Let's maybe I'm going a little bit fast. I know that our time is limited.
I can 4 minutes left.
Okay, then I can move on a little bit on some figures about the Portuguese participation in Interreg Europe. I thought it was interesting to show that the Portugal has a very good success rate in the applications. This is the average that all the countries have. Out of the 249 applications, we have 68 approved. And so that means that Portugal is also well represented, as 26% of the projects have a Portuguese partner. Also well represented, covering all the thematic areas with slight preference on research and innovation. Similarly to the results that I spoke before, in Portugal we have 22 policy changes in 19 projects that have been reported, and 262 regional and national funds that have been mobilized due to the learning of the projects. So now it's maybe the most interesting part for everybody, and a little bit of information on what is happening next. About the next program, I think the key word here is there is no revolution, is rather an evolution. The scope, the key objective of the program will remain the same. In the new regulation, it's the same. We are here to improve regional development policies, and we are going to do that through exchange of experience, of innovative approaches and capacity building. So the core element of the program remains the same. A slight difference in the countries. Unfortunately, we lost our UK partners, so 29 countries involved. But very good news about the budget. We have 20 million more, which is also quite an indication that of the good performance of the program. Very good news also for the beneficiaries regarding the thematic focus of the next program. In the next programming period, all the topics, all the policy areas covered by the cohesion policy will be eligible for the projects. You see here on the left the panel of the selection, the menu of the different topics. That means that projects will be eligible even for topics that currently were not covered by our program, for example, the social elements or climate change. So all cohesion policy is covered. The member states, they have, however, requested that 80% of the funds should be still allocated in the two main priorities, smart and green, innovation and environment, which is a little bit the topics that we are covering in the current programming period. But still, as I said, all cohesion policy topics are eligible for the next program. Few words also about the projects. I think the motto here is really the flexibility. We have heard what the beneficiaries have said, and we have taken this on board. There is a lighter focus on the structural funds compared to these projects of this current programming period. For the future, only one policy instrument per project must be a structural funds program. There is also flexibility in the phases. Beneficiaries were saying that they wanted to continue the exchange of experience even in the follow-up phase, and this will be possible for the new projects. Flexibility also in the action plans. Only those regions that will not manage to demonstrate any policy development or policy change will be obliged to submit an action plan, and that will be not obligatory for the others that they have achieved policy developments and changes. And also good news that pilot actions will be possible from the very start of the projects. To say also that the policy learning platform has been very successful through this programming period, and that will continue also for the next programming period. And we will try to build on the current successes and continue all the services and even evolve towards more demand-driven approaches. So there is my conclusion word, where we are with the timeline. We are really hoping that we will have the approval by the Commission beginning of the next year, 22. So that will allow us to launch the first call for project proposals in the first semester of 2022. This is from my side. Of course, I'm available to answer any questions, and thank you very much. The floor back to you, Astrid.
Well, thank you very much, Magda, also for keeping so well to the time. Thanks a lot for doing this. I think this is very interesting. We are right in the right place. The green challenges will have a big focus. 80% of the budget is going to be focused on that. So the challenges that you are facing can be covered, I guess, also from the Interreg Europe program, amongst others. So before opening the floor to questions, so which you can post, please, in the chat. I would also like to say that the PowerPoint presentations will all be available after the event, so you can read them again at ease and look at them again quietly. And there will also be a recordings that you can watch. So this is all going to be available. So if you have a question, please don't hesitate. So we have a question from Mrs. Ramos, please. Is Celia Ramos, you raise your hand? Yeah? Would you like to ask a question?
Yes, I did. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to ask a question after Magda's presentation, has to do with one of the last issues she talked about. If I understood you correctly, you said that the projects will be less focused on structural funds. And therefore, what does that mean? If they will be less focused on structural funds, what does that mean exactly? What is the true impact that this can have on the development or on the calls for applications and all those procedures? Thank you.
Magda?
If I may, yes, thanks for the question. Indeed, currently, the projects have to have half of their policy instruments to be structural funds, operational programs. So for the future, this is more flexible. Only one of the policy instruments addressed by the project has to be structural funds. That gives you much more flexibility. That means that you can tackle any regional policy. Can be your smart specialization policies, can be any regional policy, doesn't necessarily have to be the operational program. So basically, we are opening up to the possibilities for the projects. I don't know.
Thank you. I think that is quite clear. Thank you very much. Okay, well, if we don't have any more questions at this point, I would like to open this little panel that we're having today with our regional representatives. It's about, of course, the green policy challenges that you're facing in your regions and how you can tap into this interregional policy cooperation that we're offering here to tackle the challenges. So I would like to our panel is going to be with Carmen Cavalera, which you have already met, Alexandra Rodriguez, Celia Ramos, Elsa Cordero and Maria de Lourdes Caballo from Algarve, Tiago Cruz from Lisbon, and Catarina Souza from Azores, just so that you know who we are talking to. So, Mrs. Caballera has already spoken about the many challenges that you're facing in Alentejo. Maybe I can give you a second question to this and ask you, in which of these many areas that you have mentioned, I mean, you spoke about circular economy, biodiversity, farm to fork, sustainable industry, building and renovation, clean energy, sustainable mobility, eliminating pollution, climate change, and waste. Where do you think you would see the most added value in peer learning from other regions?
Para mim?
In my opinion, well, above all, I think, as I earlier mentioned about mobility, we are developing a project of transport by request was brought to us by a region of CCDR Centro, and we adapted the project to our territory. And we are now trying to be a little bit more ambitious, providing a mobility service and bringing also electric mobility to the equation. Our idea is to have long, frequent routes based on reservations with electric cars, electric vehicles, and therefore we are trying to establish a strategy for the further development of sustainability involving transportation. And this is to tell you that we can use the best practices, the good ideas of others, but we can go a step further. We can be a little bit more innovative, having a surgical action, I would say, to apply that to our territories. So for this specific project that I'm giving you as an example, was very successful from the beginning because we adapted it from another region. And they were, of course, our partners, and we were able not to have to learn from their mistakes and not have the same initial problems. So if we are able to use good examples from others, this is an advantage to avoid mistakes and to anticipate possible problems and what is going to be necessary, what should be changed and adapted to the specific characteristics of our own region. So from our perspective, we are also available to share with others our knowledge, to help other people. So we are always available to help others with our experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is very kind. So I note a big tick on sustainable mobility, where you could imagine more cooperation. Maybe I can just go to the south. I could go to Algarve and the colleagues there, Maria de Lourdes, and also I think Elsa Cordero are here. So what are your green challenges? You heard already what Alentejo has been saying. Maybe you can speak about yours.
Thank you, Astrid. Bom, claro que sim, podemos apresentar.
Yes, of course, I can share our biggest challenges. They are not so different. There is a certain continuity between Alentejo and the Algarve. We have close borders. We share the same European region, the Euro region, Alentejo, Algarve, and Andalusia in Spain. So we have quite a lot in common from what Carmen mentioned. In the Algarve, we have a high level of biodiversity, different lands, different people. We have specific species in terms of cattle, goats, sheep, also in terms of specific fruits with specific biodiversity. We also have lots of flowers being produced here, but there are some species that are under threat here in the Algarve, but they are being protected now because they are extremely important in terms of the flora species of the country, because we bring together the influences of the Mediterranean with the Atlantic. We are part of the migration routes of many birds and other animals. Also, in terms of the river areas, we have very specific issues that we need to address. Also, the coastal area with white beaches, but also some areas that are covered by rocks with the nests of many birds. And we have the sea. The sea is extremely important for the regional economy. Also, on the interland, we have other areas with the limestones. We don't have the same marble as you have in Vila Viçosa or Estremoz in the Alentejo, but nevertheless, there are lots of rocks and stones for decoration that are also produced here. In terms of geology, we are extremely rich as well, with 3 councils working on that. We also have a ridge of mountains that is very depressed with a high reduction of the population and elderly population as well. And we have a lot of different trees, eucalyptus trees, but also pine trees and some specific species as the carrot trees. And this description shows clearly that we have a very rich natural heritage with a good integration of the population with the landscape, with the ecosystems. Throughout the last few years, we have been very worried with the necessary balance between building and the nature. And we have, in fact, big challenges that have to do also with the scarcity of water. This is one of the major challenges, fighting this problem and trying to cope with it. This is connected to the biodiversity of the landscape, but also to the needs of the population. We know that the Mediterranean diet is also extremely important for us, and we have a regional agenda for circular economy that was developed, and we are developing this also in terms of sustainable tourism. We have been working a lot on this. Of course, tourism is an important sector for our region. And we are developing a regional plan for ecotourism also. In terms of smart specialization, we are developing the idea of smart destination connected to tourism and also smart mobility.
Just 1 minute, please.
And in 1 minute. And also we are developing other action plans in other areas, and the treatment of rivers, of water, and we are also developing some actions in terms of climate change. And mobility, of course, is important for us in the Algarve. We need to improve that quite a lot between the different municipalities, but even inside the entire region. Thank you.
Thank you so much for presenting that. We had a little conversation beforehand, and you put already the finger in water scarcity, biodiversity, also coastal areas, mountain areas. I mean, I think you got it all. So very interesting, and thanks for sharing that. Maybe we go to the north. Could I ask Celia Ramos also to speak about her challenges, and please, keep to your 3-4 minutes, yes? So everybody can speak. Thanks.
Com certeza. Torno a cumprimentar todos, em especial
Good afternoon once again. Thank you, Astrid, for this opportunity to talk a little bit about our regions, our home. The North region has about 4 million inhabitants, which means about or represents about 30% of the Portuguese population. And therefore, it's a big part of our country with a huge metropolitan area, concentrated about 51% of the employment opportunities, job opportunities. If we would have to characterize the North in one single word, I would use industry. But the fact is that we also have a wide spectrum of other areas, developing activities in the production of milk, fruits, seeds, with very interesting conditions in terms of forest management. I would also say that in the north, we have the only national park of Portugal, the Peneda Gerês National Park, and a very strong academia as well, with different institutions working on innovation and development very strongly. In terms of environmental challenges, I would use a metaphor. I would say that everything that goes on in the human body is for the interest of a doctor, of a practitioner, a medical practitioner. So this is the same for North. We have all challenges, going from circular economy to decarbonization, using and connecting that to efficient mobility, energy issues, renewables, biodiversity, sustainable tourism. So I would say that no area, no thematic field, no topic would be outside of the North region scope and concerns. Within the scope of our territory, we feel the need and we need to use all opportunities to tackle all challenges in terms of environmental policies. Also, another important aspect that I would like to underline is that these concerns are part of our regional strategy for regional development, and this perspective is also in line and being covered with the operational program that we are preparing for the region. And this has to do with the second question, I suppose, and I will reply later, but I would like to mention here the complementarity, the synergies that we can gain and benefit from forums such as these, providing us with a lot of opportunities that we are very willing to take. So, to summarize, this is what I would like to share regarding the North region, but I am available to any questions that you would like to ask later. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think with regard to the priorities, I think we have to speak about this later because we are getting, we have very pressed on time. But we will be in contact with you to follow up so that we make sure that we don't lose any of this very rich conversation that we're having here. Maybe I'm looking directly at Alexandra Rodriguez from Centro. Maybe I can give the word to you, please, and also please a short intervention.
Muito bem, muito obrigada. Boa tarde a todos.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Well, I would say that from the perspective of our region, it's not much different from other regions. We are prone to feel the issues coming, such as drought, forest fires, and all that that was already mentioned. We've had hurricanes, typhoons in our region. So very clearly, this is one of our major concerns, a permanent concern. we are working quite a lot on the transition towards a circular economy with different challenges in terms of public procurement. And a big challenge is to ensure that this transition takes place within the scope of SMEs, because this is the majority of the Portuguese companies, and it's difficult to bring this paradigm shift to this sector. In terms of tourism, the region is highly diversified. We have sun, beaches, but also the snow and the mountains. And we have invested quite a lot on nature tourism, exploiting biodiversity in a sustainable manner with lots of creativity. And this involves some challenges, of course. As for the national resources, our smart specialization strategy points at water, forest, and food production. And you need to understand that this is a highly heterogeneous region on the coastal areas with higher density of population, but also inner parts where less people live, but still the problems, the issues and concerns are also located. And a lot of our territory is covered by land that is still used for farming activities. We also carried out a plan and programs involving also the industry, because we also have a strong influence of industry. We have glass, ceramics, cement that is produced and used as a raw materials. Also, we have some industry in terms of the production of paper, and a strong industry in terms of the value chain of plastics, producing molds and other products. So the industry also needs to change the challenges, to face the challenges by becoming more innovative, so that they are able to be at a necessary level in terms of the Green Deal. And I quite agree with the previous colleagues. We have hard work ahead of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for adding this as well. I think we see this huge diversity in the Portuguese regions, which are, I guess, not only challenges but also opportunities. So I think we have to turn it into opportunities as well. So we are moving to Lisbon. So it was ladies first, but now, Mr. Cruz, it's to you.
Olá, boa tarde. Eu antes de mais queria agradecer.
Good afternoon. I would like to start by thanking the invitation addressed to CCDR for participating in this event, such an interesting event. CCDR Lisbon, together with the municipality and the metropolitan area of Lisbon, we prepared the strategy for 2030. In this strategy, we are in line with the Green Deal and with the policies at European level, specifically on the main number 2 of sustainability and mitigation of natural risks. In the strategy 2030 for Lisbon, we included different types of areas, including decarbonization and energy transition, the mitigation of risks, circular economy, biodiversity, food chain, and rural development, sea and coastal areas. In addition to this, we have a cross-cutting approach to climate change with proposals on these 6 domains. We are reviewing our smart specialization strategy, reinforced with these concerns on the one hand, and also agro-food businesses and industries. This is a big challenge, a global challenge. These strategies will be translated in the programming of the next period, and we will be exploiting these within the scope of OP2 to promote energy efficiency, adaptation to climate change, the transition towards circular economy, reinforcing the protection of nature, and also promoting multimodal, sustainable urban mobility. I hope I was short enough and brief enough. Thank you. These are the main challenges and are not so different from other regions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. But it's adding also the perspective of Lisbon and of a big agglomeration, where I think there is also different issues a little bit to the let's say the more rural areas. So it's good to hear from all of you what you're thinking. So with this, I give the word to Catarina Souza from Azores. So if you can add also very briefly what you think the priorities would be for your region.
Can you hear me?
Conseguem ouvir?
So first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting the Regional Directorate for Energy for this opportunity to share what the government of the Azores has been doing within the scope of energy transition. And the government of the Azores has pursued an energy policy that aims to draw attention to energy-related matters and also creating awareness when it comes to the importance and the advantages that come with the correct energy management of energy. The goal is then to promote energy sustainability and to tackle the emission of greenhouse gases in the Azores. And when we take into account the reality of an isolated region such as the Azores, the geographic, social, and even economic context is naturally linked to the main challenges and the green challenges that we can identify in this region. And first of all, we need to consider the specific local context that all actions and policies to be carried out in the Azores must be specifically adapted to the context of each of the 9 islands. And an example of this is the implementation of energy production and for self-consumption, since this initiative has not been widely adopted on the smaller islands due to the lack of a diverse economy and when it comes to providing and maintaining the equipment and resources necessary for energy production. And of course, each island has its own specific characteristics, and that is specifically available resources that require us to adapt and to develop different strategies for each of these islands. And after that, we also have to consider the population of the Azores. As I said before, we are a very isolated region, and maybe because of that, one of the main issues and problems that persist in the Azores is structural poverty, which conditions the development of the archipelago and, of course, the growth of the various sectors. And in terms of energy, this is particularly relevant as it affects the role of the population as an active consumer. That is, we can't always get the community to actively participate in the energy transition. Considering that the initial investment is usually quite large to promote energy efficiency in buildings and for equipment and systems. This is also directly linked to a low level of education because unfortunately, the autonomous region of the Azores continues to register the lowest percentage of population that has finished secondary school in Portugal. And this then affects how aware and how open the population is to energy related issues, which will obviously affect the usefulness of national and regional incentives, which I will speak in a little bit about. And with all of this in mind, the Regional Directorate for Energy has been working across multiple European funded projects, which we believe they are very important, not only to learn more from different partners all across Europe, but also to share our own initiatives with them. And considering that this webinar is within Interreg Europe, we think it's relevant to consider that we are also part of 2 other Interreg projects, such as Imobicity and Resort. And since Imobicity seeks to improve a low carbon economy policies to promote the integration of electric mobility, and Resort aims to promote the best practices to support energy efficiency and renewable energy use in businesses across European islands and other remote regions such as the Azores. Because of this, the government has been working towards implementing several measures in the last couple of years to encourage this transition, very anchored in the community engagement. And I will be focusing on 2 main policies that have been the most impacted by the input from other European regions.
Just 1 minute, please. Yes.
Oh, hi. The first one is going to be electric mobility, and we have been greatly investing in the incentive system that has been available since 2020. And through this incentive, we not only promote the low carbon economy that we have been trying to achieve, but also tackling the difficult initial investment that I previously mentioned with this kind of purchase. Through this, we have also been working on expanding our public network of electric vehicle charging points. That has been very important and is now covering all 9 islands of the Azores. The second initiative, very quickly, focuses on the renewable energy sources for self-consumption. And this is where Pro Energia comes into place, which is a system of incentives for the production and storage of energy from renewable sources. And in 2020, we have supported the purchase of around 900 pieces of equipment in the Azores, which has been a private investment of over 2 million euros. This system has managed to include communities in the production and storage of energy from renewable sources. Finally, just to wrap it up, we believe that sharing knowledge and the good practices is essential for the development of policies all around Europe. And the sharing of the technological knowledge has been very valuable to our region and to make these initiatives possible. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much also for your presentation and this perspective of an island, which is important to add to this. So I conclude that we have a lot of opportunities, that we are moving with projects from Portugal from research and innovation towards more the green challenges, and then we're going to see much more projects in this area. We have been looking at water scarcity, biodiversity in forests, mountains and coastal areas, of course, circular economy, green public procurement, sustainable tourism, mobility, smart energy, also industry, sustainable industry applications, and agriculture, food chains and natural risks. I think a lot of interesting areas, and I'm very pleased to say that we have a lot of knowledge in the Interreg Europe community in all of these areas. So you have opportunities to tap into this and maybe also to find some interesting partners for your future projects. So with this, I would like to give the word to Marcos, and I would like to ask him to be really brief and much briefer than we have foreseen, because there is so much interesting information coming from the regions. Please, Marcos, share with us your experience with the Interreg Europe project Citizen.
Okay, thank you, Astrid. I will be very short. Indeed, we can share the presentation about the project itself. I could speak a lot about it, but that's just better to use this moment for an opportunity for dialogue. And of course, first of all, I have to thank very much Astrid Severin for this initiative and all the support during the event preparation, and indeed for making it happening and so making visible the usefulness of the policy learning platform for cooperation. I'm Marcos Nogueira. I'm speaking from Brussels. I'm the permanent representative of Alentejo, or the head of office, the EU office of Alentejo. So that's my job is really trying to enhance cooperation, to enable cooperation, to develop cooperation. The thing we do here for Alentejo and time to time for other Portuguese regions when needed. Of course, we cooperate a lot with other Portuguese regions represented here, namely Azores, and that's our job is indeed finding common ground for cooperation, finding common challenges that we have to face together. Not only the Portuguese regions among themselves, but indeed with other European regions. So that's our job here. So count on us for cooperation. That's a privilege to be together with all the Portuguese regions today in this event. That's very seldom that it happens. That's really comforting. And of course, I have to thank Magda for mentioning that Portugal is a little bit over the average when it comes to Interreg Europe. I think that's also true for the coordination of projects, and that's a little bit due to our colleagues of Iradiare. So thank you so much, Flavia, Camila, for everything you did for so long for Interreg. And Iradiare was mentioned on Interreg Guide as a partner in Portugal for information, etc. And indeed, you have done a lot, and that's one of the reasons why Portugal is a little bit above the average. And also on this event, so thank you for organizing everything. That's a privilege to have the opportunity to share the floor with my Vice President, Carmen Carvalheira. And indeed, if Alentejo is doing so well in terms of innovation, digital innovation, and other areas like health, mobility, energy, smart farming, it's indeed due to the action of Carmen Carvalheira, who is the political responsible for these areas. And finally, a big thank you for the interpreters, and apologize for my bad English, which doesn't help the interpretation for Portuguese. Okay, nevertheless, let me just share the presentation. I hope you can see my screen. So that's one of the best examples we may bring from Alentejo related to Interreg Europe is Citizen project. And why so? Citizen, it's about, I'm just skipping a few slides because it would take too long, but Citizen, it's about a lot of different things, but also urban farming. And that's very much an example how we can find best practices sometimes within those projects, and when the bottom-up effect and the cooperation comes from indeed approaching or commonly approaching the common challenges. And that's very simple. That's a very simple idea. We need to make our communities to be more robust, because we all know that we are facing a lot of challenges in future. So we have been talking today about challenges related to climate change, water scarcity, but I could use other examples. There are challenges related to demography. There are challenges related to approaching new digital solutions that indeed make individuals to be globally present, but sometimes they may confront the local communities and may press the proximity and need our communities, or make the need of our communities to be better robust to indeed face those challenges and turn them into opportunity. How can we do it? We need to find places where we can keep the legacy, keep the heritage from the region, and indeed share it in a cross-generational approach, making dialogue across the generations to be feasible. Urban farming, it's an opportunity for that. So more than farming on the sense of producing produce, we do urban farming as an opportunity for the community to develop. Beja, that's the city, one of the most important cities in Alentejo. It's a city that is the capital of a very rural region, agricultural region. So that's where there are a lot of knowledge that can't be lost. So we make the region to be led to be also led by sharing knowledge within the city as an opportunity for making the farming to be an opportunity for that dialogue and intergenerational cooperation. So that's a very good example how we can bring an integration of factors. So we are talking about green solutions for cities. We are talking about public space, talking about heritage, legacy, but also about enhancing the robustness of our communities in order to make them to be better prepared for future, namely for the challenges related to other aspects that are resulting from digitalization, demographic problems related to climate change, and so that's a very, very small example of a best practice. There are quite a few others within the same project, and there are many others within the region, but that's just an example. That's an example how we could learn by doing, and how so much we are willing to share and with these experiences with other regions. And of course, doing it as part of an Interreg project, it was also an opportunity to work with other cities, other regions in Europe. So in this project, we had smaller cities, bigger cities, and that's very much how it works in order to enhance, improve, and enlarge cooperation between regions. I hope in future a cooperation between regions, interregional cooperation, may go much far beyond Interreg Europe. Indeed, we knew we need it everywhere in Europe. We need better instruments to make it possible to commonly address common challenges, doing it using our structural funds, using resilience, Next Generation EU, and building for that investment platforms that can indeed help us solving together the problems or the challenges we face also together. Okay. That's a little bit of my impressions from Brussels. We are here to develop cooperation, so count on us, come to us, and take in consideration that Portugal is a very open and very universalistic country in the sense that we are Atlantic Europe. Atlantic, it's also it's Europeans, it's the European basin to cooperate with the world. And indeed, in Alentejo, we have the ocean port that is the first or the closest port to the Panama Canal and etc. And we have also the connection between Europe and Iberia and America for internet. So that's indeed the gateway, the Atlantic gateway for Europe. So take it into consideration once thinking about new ideas for projects, and please let us do the what we like. That's indeed finding these opportunities for cooperation. So Astrid, thank you. I don't need to say more. Everything will be on the presentation. And thank you so much for your participation, the event, and the opportunity to share the floor.
Thank you very much, Marcos. I'm really happy that we have this event now after we talked many months ago about this idea. So it's actually great to see everybody coming together, and also all the different regions meeting, which is an excellent opportunity also that you hear to each other what you're doing. So with this, and without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Elena Ferrario and also myself. We're going to do a joint presentation on the policy learning platform as a source of inspiration, we hope, and how you can use it to support you in tackling the green policy challenges already now, before the calls are coming out maybe next year. So here we go. Elena, you're starting.
Do you see my screen?
Yes, we do. And you could make in full mode.
And I am theoretically. Great. Okay. Thank you, Astrid, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Elena. I am the thematic manager of the Interreg Europe policy learning platform. I don't need to repeat all the nice words of Astrid because I share them all. So thank you really for this opportunity to meet you, Portuguese colleagues, and passionate about cooperation and interregional cooperation. My presentation shared with Astrid will obviously now focus on the policy learning platform. So we heard Magda speaking globally about the program. We will now focus a little bit more into the opportunities of the policy learning platform. I think in particular it is interesting now, while you are all probably waiting for the next programming period, I mean the next program to be really launched and for the next calls to be started. By the way, this gives me the opportunity to tell you that the annual event of the program will happen next 24th and 25th of November. Pencil down these dates on your agenda because, well, actually the registration is already open, right, Magda? And you can definitely get to know more about the program during those 2 days. Policy learning platform. So, yes, for those of you who do not know it, I will be extremely short, but still it is important. This is the new feature of Interreg Europe. It was created to make sure that all the results and the good practices coming from the projects do not end with the closure of the projects, but still are kept alive by the program, and not only alive, but also shared across all the Interreg Europe community. So we really, what we do at the platform, we analyze all the good practices, all the results of all the projects, and we make this knowledge, this richness of results available to all policymakers across Europe. So going beyond the single project partnerships, really making available to everybody. And in order to do this, we have a team of experts that, along with the staff of the Joint Secretariat and of the program, work to animate somehow this platform. What they do is that they organize their activities, analyzing, of course, all the projects and all the good practices coming from these projects around three main, let's say, big categories of services, I would say. The first one is the community of policymakers. More than a service, this is really like the basic mission to animate this community, which is made of more than 18,000 members, all representatives of local and regional public authorities, universities, chambers of commerces, regional development agencies, all the organizations having a stake in the policymaking process of a given territory. And they all meet in the community of Interreg Europe and share their challenges, their interests in the topics of the program. What you have said during the panel about your challenges, your specificities of the different Portuguese regions, well, you're not alone. Well, you know this already, obviously, but I really would like to highlight that, because even in different European countries with different, perhaps, geographical situation, political situation, still, you will find that you can share the same challenges and perhaps find interesting solutions coming from elsewhere. Astrid, maybe you want to say a bit more about the other learning opportunities that we have.
Yeah, the other learning opportunities we have mentioned, we have now about 2,500 already validated good practices. And I'm pleased to say that they have a high degree of replicability and transferability. So I'm just giving you two more examples here, what you can find in the area of green challenges. We have, for example, a good practice on participatory process that has been used for the creation of a maritime museum in Mallorca. You have already heard about the good practice from Marcos on urban gardening. There is many more on this as well. And here we also have chosen a good practice on the recovery and conservation of dune habitats, which is coming from 3 Italian coastal provinces, which of course is also interesting for you and which you could also use. Other learning opportunities that we're having are, of course, the events. They're feeding from all these good practices that we're having. We give the opportunity to, of course, meet high-level speakers and experts that are presenting the latest policy developments. You can have a help desk session like today after this event, where you can ask your specific questions. And of course, we make all the recordings and key learnings available after our events. So, for example, you could now watch the webinar that we recently had on policy solutions to stop marine litter for all coastal regions, and not only also everybody else. That is a very huge issue. You could watch that. We also had a workshop on living rivers, a driver for sustainable regional development, also a subject that has been mentioned by you today. We have also had community brainstorming on water reuse and water pollution, and there are many more events which you can tap into on the policy learning platform. Of course, there's now upcoming events. So the first one that is interesting maybe for you is cultural heritage in mountain regions. You can register for this. The registration is opening. It takes place on the 9th of November. And we are also planning currently a workshop on bio-waste, which is of interest for many regions, since the targets are very high to deal with this issue. Then people can also read if they want. We have policy briefs, articles and stories that we're publishing. I've just here put some of our recent policy briefs in green areas. We are having one on halting ocean plastic pollution, sustainable tourism with strategies to counteract over-tourism, for example. Of course, sustainable water management, And we also added one on rivers and wetlands as drivers of sustainable regional development. So you can see there is a large breadth of possibilities. We also have a whole series on cycling cities, for example, and policy brief on that. So we have in quite each of these areas interesting information and learning opportunities for you. And if you want to be abreast with everything that is happening and you want to get information regularly, please don't hesitate to register for the Policy Digest. That's a thematic newsletter which comes out regularly, where you can find all of what I've mentioned before on a regular basis directly in your mailbox.
And maybe to zoom in into the golden services of the policy learning platform, what again Magda was mentioning earlier to you. We have also these services that make really this platform unique compared to many other perhaps examples of networks that you have around Europe. And this is really the fact that our experts work very closely to satisfy the specific needs of one single organization having a specific policy challenge. These are the three services that you see on the screen, starting from the bottom right. You have something that we call the policy help text. This is basically an email answering a message that you would send to the policy learning platform, to me, or to Astrid, or to any of the other experts of the platform, asking for some information on a given topic. And the experts would reply with a very comprehensive email giving you further information on one or the other good practice or result coming from Interreg Europe projects, or additional reading materials, academic work, documents from the Commission, anything that help you navigate into all the knowledge that you can find out there, but really more directed to your specific need. So it's really a helpful tool. Then going to the left side of the slide, you see the matchmaking sessions. And these are, again, meetings really tailored to one organization's need, asking us for organizing a meeting where we would tackle one specific topic. This can take the form of a 2-hour online or on-site meeting. It's a working meeting. It's not a wide event. It's really very, the character is really a working character. We team up with 2-3 organizations coming from Europe and the Interreg Europe community, which are somehow pre-selected by our thematic experts, pre-selected on the basis of their specific expertise, experience on the topic selected by you, the let's say hypothetical organization asking for this matchmaking session. And during the matchmaking session, we would really focus on your specific need, on the specific topic, and you would really get to know rather in detail the experience of the other participants. And to finish, maybe really with the best of service of the policy learning platform, it's the peer reviews, which I would say are somehow the macro format of matchmaking sessions, because instead of having a 2-hour format, this is a 2-day event. Again, I would like to highlight this working character of the event. This is really a moment where together with the thematic experts and a selected number of peers, so organizations again across Europe, we go extremely into the details of one policy challenge. The service is available to all, let's say, all organizations in Europe. Explicitly, a priority is given to managing authorities and intermediate bodies of structural funds, but actually this service is open to all organizations, once again having a role in the policy making process of a dedicated policy instrument, of the specific policy instrument. And the idea is that we really meet to exchanging face-to-face to discuss a specific, a concrete policy challenge. At the end of these 2 days, looking very much into the specific territorial context, into really the challenge that one organization has, the beneficiary of the peer review has, we elaborated together with the peers a number of, okay, we call them policy recommendations. It's basically a list of very concrete suggestions, advice, actions to be taken up by the beneficiary of the peer review, coming from the peers and coming from the experts, that you could start implementing basically immediately after the peer review. And the support that you would receive is from A to Z. Basically, our experts organize it all. They basically organize a call for peers, so they create a call open to the Interreg Europe community to really select the best possible match for meeting your needs. So really the people that really have the dedicated expertise to solve somehow, or to help you solve your policy challenge. And once again, I would like to give the floor to Astrid for giving some specificities or examples of these peer reviews and matchmaking, knowing that we have been already organizing 28 peer reviews so far and 15 matchmaking sessions. We have started this service back in, let's say, late 2018, and we can say that we have now collected like a significant experience on this service to being quite sure to offer you a high quality service. Astrid.
Yeah, here you see some examples on peer reviews that we have been implementing. We have been working, for example, from anything from landfill rehabilitation to waste management and so on. So maybe with the next slide, I give you 2 examples which might be of interest for you. That is one, a matchmaking that we have organized on how to design a pay-as-you-throw system for the region, or for the municipality of Burgas in Bulgaria. So it was very specific request to go into more detail on how to set this up for the region. We also want to share another matchmaking with you that might be interesting. That's going to take place on the 28th of October, so very soon, for Santa Cruz of Tenerife in Spain. Here they're looking into measuring and reducing CO2 emissions from port operations. So maybe also something which is of interest to you. Just to give you some brief examples for your inspiration. Some of you have been mentioning also sustainable industry. You looked at paper, at ceramics. The textiles industry is also an interesting sector in Portugal. Here we had recently a peer review for the region of Central Macedonia, which is in Greece. You can see we had 4 peers here from Spain, from Italy, from Poland and Romania, which have been helping them to specifically address the issues of sustainability and circular economy in this sector, looking at wastewater, looking at the waste that's being produced by the textiles industry and so on. So that was also a very fruitful exercise as a peer review.
Okay, and I will close this presentation with listing the values that you could gain with the peer review. First of all, you get hands-on advice, a list of concrete actions jointly elaborated based on a careful analysis of your challenges. You would, of course, enlarge your network of valuable contacts to increase somehow your knowledge and possible even additional cooperation opportunities for the future. You would strengthen your relations with local stakeholders, also a very important point that we always get comments on, because thanks to peer reviews, often we see that the cooperation, the collaboration that happens at local level with local organizations working around a policy instrument is strengthened thanks to the peer reviews, because we also call upon the presence of other local stakeholders around the table. And also, of course, you could become a peer yourself, so bring your own knowledge, your own expertise to other organizations across Europe. I don't think we have time, unfortunately, to stop and read one of the quotes that we collect from our happy beneficiaries, but just for you to know that normally we are happy to say that we receive good comments about our service. And thank you very much for your attention.
Well, thank you very much also to Elena and myself. I should say no, but I would like to give the word right away to one of our peers, where we're really grateful for your support in the peer review that we had for Burgas in Bulgaria, and I would like to give the word to Susana Lopez from Lipor, Greater Porto region.
Okay, I will, Astrid, I think I will start in English, but just to give you a big thanks for this invitation, and to all the PLP team, and then maybe it's better to move to Portuguese, like that I can speak faster, so I need to translate. Ok. Vou então partilhar a minha apresentação.
So I would like to share my presentation with you. It's going to be a guide for what I'm going to say. I hope that you can see. And I'm going to give you a very brief testimonial regarding the participation of Lipor through myself on this peer review promoted by the Policy Learning Platform in Burgas regarding the municipal waste collection and management in order to promote circular economy in that region. In terms of the participation in the Burgas peer review, and as it was already mentioned by Astrid and Elena Ferrario, it was an online event because of the situation of the pandemic. But it's important to underline that this instrument, this type of program, is extremely important for the challenges that the regions and our country clearly has to face. So we prepared, we had the previous preparation regarding all the issues, the questions, and the identification of those issues for the people producing the application. It's important to reflect about the different challenges and trying to understand what are the priorities so that we can further develop an action plan. And the peers, according to the requests, will use their knowledge to present the best solutions for this specific territory based on problems that can have been overcome before, based on the economic conditions, social, and so on. All of that is extremely important, and all of this is worked with a group of specialists that have been selected, and it is relevant so that in a practical way and a very quick manner. We took 2 days. We had a very intensive 2 days of work, and we were able to work with the representative of Burgas, propose an action plan that could immediately be set up and implemented the following day. So we were very objective with practical recommendations. So this is a very interesting tool for Portugal in terms of the added value it brings. It's an instrument that is very useful and effective in terms of interregional cooperation. Portugal is a small country with a huge diversity, so this platform can provide a lot of support for us to join efforts and attain common objectives. This is one of the big advantages of the program, because we have different realities but common objectives. and therefore, based on the exchange of practices, experiences, and the best practices, we very quickly are able to attain good results that are beneficial for our regions. So we also need focused quite a lot here on the opportunity to learn and using the experiences from others based on the different regulations, legislation. The framework directive for waste was taken into consideration here, of course, talking about how the different municipalities could use the different objectives based on the prevention, reuse, recycling of waste in this specific case. It is a very important moment for learning and very enriching to all the participants. After the participation in the peer review, we also accepted the challenge and decided to make an application regarding the way we can expand the collection of waste and be able to better protect our environment by doing so, because we know there are very good examples coming from other regions. Our application has to do with the expansion of selective collection of waste, how to involve the community, and what are the models that are better, that could be better used in the region of Portugal, where LIPOR works. In the platform, you find all the necessary information on the website with concise information. You have a form to fill in for your application, defining what are the topics, what we want to work with our peers, select the necessary data, collect the data, and also identify and select the people that are going to share with you the process of peer reviewing in 2 days of work. It's a very non-complex process, tailor-made with a very careful selection of peers and experts that can help us and advise us on the best path to follow, the best course of action for the objectives to be attained. In terms of the policy learning platform, I can share with you that we've received a lot of support regarding the preparation of our application. We are preparing an event as well on the selection of peers. We have had very quick response to any of our questions. It's easy to contact the policy learning platform, and they are very interested and committed to the further development of this type of tools, and they have a wide scope of peers that can bring a lot of added value for the implementation of our projects and these solutions. I believe it is important for Portugal to work on this program because, as it was mentioned in the Burgos example, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to choose solutions from other areas that can be adapted to our territory, despite of the differences that might exist in terms of local reality. We will be able to achieve the objectives of the European common space. Thank you.
Terminei.
Thank you very much, Susanna, for your kind presentation and for your kind words. So that it's very nice to hear as well for us this recognition. So thank you very much. So with this, we have a little bit more time just for some questions. Maybe there are some burning issues, questions that you would like to ask to us as a team. to any of the experts, to Magda for Interreg. So I can also say, if you cannot think of any question now, as Susanna has just said, we are of course always available. You can easily write us and contact us through the platform and also directly. So I'm just waiting a little bit, maybe a question comes up. So, well, I don't see any questions at the moment. So I think we have exhausted all our green challenges and all the opportunities that are arising also through the policy learning platform and the future of Interreg Europe. So as I said, please do be in contact, use the services, they're there for you, and they can help you to tackle your challenges, to find also inspiration, new partners, and see where you can go in the future. I would like to give a big thank you to all the speakers today for sharing what they would like to tackle, for also sharing their experiences. Of course, a big thank you to the interpreters for an excellent job, very well done. So normally you would now get a big applause in the room. And of course, a big thank you to my colleagues as well for the big and excellent support. Just a little reminder, there is still the help desk sessions. Some people have booked these help desk sessions, so please don't run away, stay with us. You will be allocated into a room and to an expert to share your questions and ideas. And we also have a little survey, so please fill it in and let us know what you thought about this event. And I also would like to say that we haven't had time to discuss everything, but we will come back to you and we will follow up on this, so to see which of these challenges we can tackle and we can help you with. So be in touch. Thanks a lot, and obrigada from me, and have a good time, and goodbye for now.